Hey yo everyone, today is December the 10th of 2022, and today we're going to be book reporting Under the Black Hat by Jim Ross. And I'm going to be using my phone, my phone for notes right here. Ah, it's broke! Psych, it's a folding phone. Yeah, probably not. Fuck you. Okay. But now I gotta unfold this son of a bitch. Hold on. Let's see. Now we unfold it. Look, it's beautiful. This is a Z Flip 3 phone. Man, it's slippery. I don't have a case on it. Just like slipping everywhere. I have my notes on here. Check out my wallpaper. Hell yeah. See, check it out. Isn't that bass as hell? Yeah, boy. I'm so cool. Alright. So, regarding this book, I do really like this one. Similar to the McFoley book. Of course, this was also co-written with Paul O'Brien. I think I just tried to look him up. I couldn't find much about him, even though like Becky Lynch, I think, mentions him in here. Hopefully the lighting's okay in here. But one thing about this book, man, is... Alright, let's talk about the writing also. It's just like McFoley's. It's pretty well written. It's not like a lot of problems I've had when I've written read like MMA books or whatever. There was always a problem with a lot of cliches and just silly nonsense. Even McFoley made that point about his ghostwriter, but this one's actually pretty good. I don't want to say I've not encountered a single cliche, but I couldn't tell you a single one I encountered. It's pretty decently written. It's not like fucking high literature, but it's not anything that would insult your intelligence either. So yeah, it's fucking, to read it, it's, pretty solid shit. Solid writing, nothing amazing, but nothing embarrassing either, which for a sports biography, memoir, whatever, it's got to be one, upper echelon. Actually, I probably have that part in my brain because I've been watching this guy's videos named Upper Echelon on YouTube. I recommend him. But this book, dude, just to show it one more time, I'm going to eventually show a few passages from it later. Not too many, but a few. And I haven't finished it quite yet, but I came close. I almost had to stop myself from finishing it today. I was like, I'll hold off, so I'll do my review before I finish it. I don't know, I just kind of like to do it before I'm even completely done. Dude, it made me definitely dislike McMahon a lot more than I probably already did. Like, dude, just the shitty things he does is just... I don't know, it's frustrating. Like, there's like a lot of... It's almost like... It's like a lot of awful shit happens to JR. So it's almost like a comedy of errors without a lot of comedy, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I just feel bad for him. I guess there's comedy too. I want to show a section on that, but I'll get to that. Like, for instance, you find out, I think it's pretty early in the book, or maybe it's because I read a blurb or something, but you find out his wife died in 2017, man. The reason it's really sad is because throughout this book, as he always, whenever shit is getting him down, he turns to his wife. It's almost like that movie, Dancer in the Dark by, God damn it, what is that dude's name? The dude who did Nymphomaniac, Lars von Trier. It's like one of those, like, almost like convolutedly depressing, like you could do a Lars von Trier movie about this dude's life. This is his second book. He has another book named with the Slobber Knocker is the title, which is one of his catchphrases. If you know wrestling, you know that. Like, government mule, I'm gonna beat him like a government mule, or, shit. Oh my god, he's broken in half. I can't do that. I'm never great at impersonations. But, like, one time, it's hard to know who I'm aiming this for, whether it's people that already know a little about wrestling or not. But there's this thing called the Brawl for All, and this guy named Dr. Death Steve Williams played a big part in that. And his push for people who don't know wrestling is when you're supposed to get like almost like promoted more, like you're starting to get put in the sunshine, If you get put in the sun, expect blisters. But it was like they did real fights, and so dude got knocked the fuck out, and it just made him look bad to the point where he was supposed to have a program feud set up with the top guy, which was Stone Cold Steve Austin at the time, the Attitude Era, and it totally derailed that shit. And Jim Ross, as head of talent relations, had to call him and fire his friend, because he was the one that brought him in, and it was like really, it says the hardest call he ever made, man. And yeah, that's pretty much how the book starts. And then from there, like, to get an idea of just how depressing this book is, then he goes on, which I didn't even make a note about in here, I just remembered, is he goes on to give all the details of Owen Hart's death, like what he experienced live on air, you know, like Jerry the King Lawler just going ashen as seeing him, you know, and people are like, all right, and I want you to report the news. He goes, I don't know what the news is. He goes, Owen Hart's dead, and 10, 9, 8, 7, they're counting down to put him on air, and he has to tell everybody that Owen Hart's dead, dude. It's just, man, it's hardcore. It's just like the shit in this book is, like, you just wouldn't expect a sports book to be this depressing. Yeah. I don't know. I don't read a lot of... I'm not really in a lot of sports, but I've read a few MMA biographies and some other wrestling biographies. Man, never anything this depressing, something like that. He talks about... Which I've heard this, I think, on Jim Cornette... No, it's not Jim Cornette's podcast. It's the one he does with Conrad. I don't really like all those, though. But he does this one where he's... A frequent subject came up as Jericho's height when getting him booked. Nowadays, Jericho has a kind of a bad reputation that he kind of ruined it, I guess, for a variety of reasons. He's in AEW now. I don't need to get into that. I was like going a whole other rant, and I'm not really, like, every so often, I kind of lost interest in wrestling around 2008. That's like a full story I don't need to go into. But I watch on and off now. So, but I mostly just listen to podcasts and shit about what's going on. My book. It's not, well, I guess I bought it. Oh, look at that shit. I'm gonna show this later, but look, we have fucking cats, and they destroyed the front little index. That pissed me off. Luckily, like, anything important isn't really ripped. It has, like, not like the forwards kind of, like, ripped into, but it's mostly like the yeah, whatever, the little chapter select thing. But yeah, he talks about Jericho, McMahon being like, oh, he's short, you know, he'd have to not, like, and then he said people get in his ear about, like, you know, he has to worry how he sells Jericho, and then he has to worry people get in him and, like, convince him Jericho's 3 inches shorter and he has to be, like, 5'7", but he was, like, 5'10". But the thing about McMahon is he's really into looks. Like, it goes later in the book where he sees Brock Lesnar and immediately just, like, runs up to him. He's like, God damn, Brock Lesnar, man, big motherfucker. We gotta make sure he makes a lot of money, even for it, knowing what his skills are and shit, you know? Just like, that's the thing about Vince McMahon, is he just loves beefed up, you know, dudes, if they aren't on steroids, that look like they are, you know? So, oh, and it mentioned, I wrote this as a question mark at the end, but he mentions that Vince McMahon grew up in a trailer park, because I always knew he lived in Connecticut, you know, and I didn't know he grew up in a trailer park, but JR seems to insinuate he did. I don't know the story behind that. Alright, so there's another deal on this one, where, what's his name, Jeff Jarrett, when he went to WCW, he was supposed to lose job, as they say, to China. I don't know what I did in the quotations, but he was supposed to lose to China before he did that, and he's like, he wasn't on contract anymore. His contract came up, and so what happened, JR met with his dad, Jerry Jarrett, and who was the owner of this big territory back in the day, and then he shook on a deal. He's like, alright, do you agree to this deal, blah blah blah, you come in, do the job to China, and you go off to WCW. And then he shook hands with his dad. But then because Jeff didn't actually do the handshake, he thought his dad would, like, Jim Ross thought that the handshake with the dad counted, but Jeff Jarrett came out and was like, fuck that shit, I want all this money. And he's like, everything I feel like you owe me, because he wanted to be paid more, but they're like, he's not a main event guy. When he went to WCW, they made him a main event dude, you know, that's where he got the whole listen up, slap nuts. I remember being all the time in, like, middle school. it was like late middle school or something like that, where people really into that whole slap nut shit. I remember this one kid, and Joey in particular, always say, listen up, slap nuts and all that. I probably watched more WCW than I did WWE back in the day. I still remember watching the last Nitro, man. That was fucking trippy. I love the cruiserweights, man. They're just flying all over the goddamn place and always doing these innovative moves. I like that one guy, Jason Jett or something. He just, like, launched people in the air. It was very innovative at the time. Alright, what else do we got here? Oh yeah, he mentioned that Ken Shamrock could have headlined WrestleMania, which I think is a bold claim. I don't know. I mean, I definitely like Ken Shamrock. I don't know, I've had mixed feelings about him after learning more about him. But, overall, I like Ken Shamrock. But, yeah, they claim he could have, JR says if he would have stuck with it. But he kept showing up late. And then eventually just wanted to go back to UFC, where he got his ass kicked by Tito Ortiz. I've seen all 3 of those fights. Sad, if you're a Ken Shamrock fan. But yeah, he claims he could have been a main eventer. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I don't even remember what his charisma was like in wrestling. I enjoyed him for the most part, but he didn't seem like he had a lot of personality for wrestling. But what do I know? Alright, what else? Oh, so he talks about Austin. This is something I know about from the podcast. Even the one with fucking Con Job and I hate Bruce Pritchard too. But where he talked about, you know, Stone Cold turning heel, and it was at the big mistake where the Attitude Era ended and they fucked like that was a lot of people consider that the downfall of WWE was when Stone Cold turned heel right around WrestleMania 18. But what I did learn from this book was that apparently it was Stone Cold's idea to turn heel, and you know, JR was like, I don't like, the time's not right, but Stone Cold was just, he felt like his time was waning, and he just felt his grip on the audience slipping, so he just kind of decided to switch it up real quick. And then Vince was kind of ambivalent about it. JR goes to him, he's like, well, we gotta try Stone Cold, because, you know, he knows what he's, what the fuck is this thing? There's something flashing on there. Is that the battery? It says 4 minutes, but that doesn't make sense. Maybe I'm running out of space. And I have to, that would be fucking lame. If so, I'll have to go in and delete some shit. You know what, let me go and, I'll wait to do that and see if it cuts off. But yeah, it was Stone Cold's idea to turn heel. I didn't know that. I remember Stone Cold on his podcast, he said he wanted to call it an audible, and at the time after WrestleMania 17 happened, he's like, I almost thought about calling an audible, hitting the stunner on on Vince McMahon going on. Let's see what other notes we have about. Let's pull out my folding phone. Yeah, beautiful. Alright, what does he say here? Oh yeah, so okay. It says around 2003 he noticed, this was when, you know, WWE had no competition, you know, they bought ECW, WCW, blah blah blah. And he says once they had no competition, the writing team started turning inward, doing shit to please Vince rather than doing what's best for the audience. And he said that was just part of the downfall. You know, Cornette talks about that, you know, now. I don't know, maybe, I don't know if he talks about, I mean, he talks about the problem is they just do this really anodyne, tame-ass product that just doesn't, people aren't into. Right now, WWE can almost survive without an audience, seems to be the thing. Alright, I'm going to pause this real quick because this thing says my time's running out. I'm going to delete something and see if it fixes it. Hold on. Alright, that shit disappeared, so I think it worked. Alright, so when they acquired WCW, also, they brought in John Laurinaitis, which I always heard was associated with that phrase, you know, future endeavored. You know, I think that motherfucker should have come out with that shirt, because it eventually, around like 2007, 2008, or past that, man, it's like WWE just started giving into all of, like, the internal memes and jokes. And I mean, I guess it's clever at first, but then it just kind of got like annoying. You know, like now they have that, what is that phone? You're feeling oozy, and they just like run with it like too much. Like, oh my god, they're fucking killing it. That's like a thing. I feel like that's the thing with like a lot of Zoomers now, is like the millennials, they would let the jokes or the memes like stew. You'd just like you'd see it regularly for like a year or more. Again, like all your base are belong to us, or what's that other one? The fucking oh really oh shit like that. You know. Like the memes, but now you got like if the Twisted Tea meme comes up, just it's like, dude, I even told him, I was like, dude, you're just like burning this joke out, and people just go through these stupid ass jokes, these damn memes, and just kill them, and it's like they're never gonna be around. Like everyone's just gonna run its core, like it's just gonna run, it's gonna get fucking old quick, and people just forget about it. And it's like, I don't know, I don't know how if I like it. Not all of them, at least. Like let some survive, man. It's like if you have an inside joke. It's like I've had inside jokes, and you know, you can't do the inside joke over and over and over. It gets old real quick. It's like, if you want to keep the inside joke, you have to not burn it out. It's like burning the joke at both ends, you know? Burn it on a, you know, back burner candle. Just don't overwork it and burn the flame out, man. But yeah, they brought in John Laurinaitis, who I didn't know JR, like Vince, and one dipshit thing he did was, you know, he just like ran about it. He's like, we're giving your job to, like, you're just introduce John Laurinaitis as the new talent relations guy. And like JR just goes along with it. He's like, oh, all right, cool, yeah, that's fine, I'll do that. And he just never complains most of the time, you know. He talks eventually at one point how he thinks Vince was pissed. I don't think it was at this point, but he moved to Oklahoma. Maybe it was around this point. I think it was a little bit later, where he just decided to move to Oklahoma, and he thought like Vince resented him for it. But fucking Vince is an asshole, man, I swear. I mean, I'm kind of glad fucking Triple H took over now, and it was that scandal that broke. I don't remember when it was. I think Cornette said it broke in like May or April of this year. Can't remember exactly, but I'm just, yeah, I mean, it's kind of fresh that HHH took over. H.H. Holmes, that's the, it reminds me because it was the last book I read. But yeah, John Laurinaitis got brought in from WCW, which I didn't know. Johnny Ace, Ace Crusher and all that shit. And then it says Mark Ratner of Nevada State Athletic. Now, I watch UFC frequently. I watch UFC more than wrestling now, because I almost watch that. At least watch the big events for that now. I used to watch a lot of MMA all the time, like learn, because I'd go to jiu-jitsu class and want to pick up moves, but diminishing returns, marginal utility, all that. But he says he warned JR that they were going to bring in Mike Goldberg and to take his place. Like, dude, Vince was always trying to get people to take his place, whether it was like motherfucking Michael Cole. Man, everyone hates Michael Cole too. He's a fucking dipshit. He's just no personality and just annoying. But yeah, they were thinking about bringing Mike Goldberg, which sounds interesting. Man, he got fucked over in the UFC in 2016 too. I feel bad about him. Then you go to like not Belfort, what the fuck is Bellator? Anyway, but then Mike Goldberg was like, dude, this is like cloak and dagger shit. Like, you're fucking over Jim Ross, and he didn't want to be part of it, and he backed out of the deal. So we didn't even get that, which would have been interesting. What that would have been like. Oh yeah, so here's another asshole move by Vince. Undertaker and HBK, for HBK's retirement match in 2010 at WrestleMania 26, they both asked to bring in Jim Ross. So like, he called the first one, you know, he's a legendary commentator, let's bring him back to call this match. And they all agreed, you know, Vince went along with it. They had fucking Jim Ross show up at the like pre-party, you know, all excited about this with his wife Jan, and right when he gets there, fucking, I think it was Kevin Dunn, which I hear is a fucking asshole from Jim Cornette. I believe him, man. I don't know, a lot of those dudes, like, I haven't heard him in particular. I don't know if he's done, just from what I've heard about him, he's a total asshole, it seems like it. But I know just listening to, what's his name, what the fuck is that dude's name now? I'm trying to think. The guy that's with the con job. Hell, it don't matter. But yeah, they call him in, and Kevin Dunn was like, it was like, come over here at the bar, and he's like, yeah, we're not gonna use you. And then like, fucking just like broke his heart, man. He's like, alright, cool, but just like takes it. He's like, I feel like this masculine need to like just accept everything and then take it. And he would just like, and fucking Vince would have him like embarrassed on TV all the time. And like, when he was going through his surgery, Vince called him like, you want to watch this skit? And instead of like honoring him, they'd like make jokes about him on air about his surgery, like pulling things out of his ass and joking about his head up his ass. So like, I don't know, just such a shithead. But then he talks about he does hang out with Undertaker and Shawn after the match. You know, they just like sit around having beers and by this fire. I think it's like in a private, like a blocked off parking lot or some shit. So they're all protected, but it's just them. Not, you know, the public can't come up and talk to them. They're just sharing stories and stuff. Such ideals and all that. Oh yeah, so then he goes and talks to TNA. This is actually the last note I'm going to talk about for this. I'll show off some passages. But he goes to talk with the Carters. It's Dixie Carter, and I forget, is their dad named Bob Carter or some shit. So anyway, they go to like this ranch, and for TNA, they have the opposite issue, which is maybe the issue AEW has right now with Tony Khan, where he's too nice, which I mean is a welcome change in some degree from all the Vince McMahon. It's like Cornette says, like Vince McMahon act like an asshole that much being a heel. It just makes the whole company feel like, you know, this evil empire. So that it gets this reputation. So the people who just want a, you know, comfortable locker room, they just go to, you know, either TNA or AEW, especially since it's like it's run by the inmates. A different kind of WCW though. It's like the people that are passionate about it. There's some, you know, anyway. So he meets with TNA guys, but he's like, well, what would you do? The dad asks, what would you do first if we hired you? And he's like, he wants to be in charge of town. He goes like, oh, well, you know, you got to trim the fat. Like, there's a bunch of people collecting paychecks that really aren't what you know, worth what you're paying them. And then Dixie just feels like, you know, she's sad about it. She's like, you know, just hearing the stories like where WWE made some trade with them with Ric Flair, like which WWE guy do you want? And she's like, I want Christian to come in, like all of them almost. And she picks Christian just because she likes his cats or some shit like that. It's so silly. It's like, come on, man, you could do something interesting here. But I mean, she's nice, I guess, but too nice is what he feels like. So it's like it is weird, the polar opposite, where it's like even Jim Ross said he didn't feel comfortable taking their money, you know, because they were so nice. But then he just willingly gets fucked over by Vince McMahon. So it's like these weird, you know, poles. That's where I'm at now, which I you know, I might could accrue some more notes, but it's just interesting where it's the polar opposite, where Jim Ross is almost like you got to do, like he's not an asshole, you know, he'd probably do it diplomatically. I mean, that was the point he made about Vince, is that Vince isn't, he's like, if Vince, the shit he did to make fun of JR, if it had any payoff or if it went anywhere and was good business, he wouldn't mind as much. But the fact that Vince McMahon goes out of his way to be an asshole and it's not even good business, you know, he just shits on Jim and there's no payoff to it. It's like, well, what's the point, you know? It's like you're just making me look like an idiot and for no good reason. Alright, I'm going to cut it real quick and I'm going to show you some passages from this book, and yeah, we'll sign off from here. As far, I usually, like, I'm very inconsistent. I'm not incontinent, I just shit myself. But I'm inconsistent about, like, you know, how I want to do the book reports, so I haven't done where I like recommend some of these, I don't think, but I do recommend this book for, like I said, it's decently written for what you'd expect, and it's definitely interesting. A lot of information even I didn't know about, you know, the wrestling. You hear it. It's all listen to the pluviosity. It's a pluvial night out here while I engage in my lucubrations of reading my books. Alright, let's go. Alright, now here's that. But just to complain one more time, look at this shit. Those goddamn cats. You can even see, like, where they ripped a little bit into this intro, preface, forward, or whatever. Anyway, it's not a big deal though, whatever. I gave away my book, she's gonna finish. I saluted Pat's legacy as I lit my own smoke and leaned out that one open window. True power in the wrestling business is convincing Vince McMahon to open a window so you could smoke. The chairman hates smoke. And smokers. He basically had no tolerance for any sign of loss of control or weakness. Perhaps most remarkably, he hated sneezing, his own even more than other people's. So the thing about this is actually well known. Jim Cornette talks about this a lot. He mentioned enough to where even my girlfriend Chels right now, like, oh, that's like Vince McMahon. Or if you sneeze, she'll be like, oh, it's like Vince McMahon would hate that or something. So even she, like, she's heard it, and so where she knows, and she doesn't even watch wrestling. Oh yeah, here's a funny little moment. Even when Foley appeared and granted Hunter, that's Triple H, what he wanted, the game simply leveraged my arm further and broke it anyway. That no good, dastardly bastard. WWE, the master of subtlety, played a snapping sound over the sound system, which I guess was supposed to be my arm breaking. Problem was, the snap came after Hunter had broken my arm. So silly. Oh yeah, and he talks about how Vince McMahon wants to be, like, accepted more as, like, true entertainment. One day as I stood in Oklahoma waiting to literally kiss my boss's ass on live TV, Vince McMahon kissed my ass club, I too wondered why we weren't taking we weren't taken seriously in the TV business. After all, surely JR smooching Vince McMahon's bare, buttery, smooth buns was a word show fodder. In fact, the book I read on Mick Foley had a kiss my ass segment. Now, this wasn't just any ass storyline. No, this was a long-term ass arc in which about a half dozen employees of the company was kissed Vince McMahon's ass because reasons. I know people mightn't see that as comparable to the plotting of The Sopranos or the social commentary of The Wire, but I should mention that Vince had 10 lines and he made his ass do tricks each time. Watch my ass do tricks, he would literally say. I bet Walter White couldn't do ass tricks. You ever see Ray Donovan twerk bitches? No, exactly. So it's fucking ridiculous. There's this whole, alright, this is this segment right before where I left off, where he makes a whole bunch of silly jokes all at once. WrestleMania 27 is fast approaching. Pull off the trigger, blah blah blah. Match for the ages. Where is this? Wait, alright. Oh yes, we're always superior athletes, and I've been working on my 450 splash off the top rope during my time off. I was also happy. Yeah, blah blah. It's just so silly. And then this guy comes by, he goes, "Ever lift, bro?" Even making 4chan memes. My God. Alright, let me get to this fucking other page because it just carries over into the. God damn it. Alright. Let's see if I can hold this in place. Where is that one? Is it here? I vaguely remember Michael Cole's The Hill too, even though I wasn't watching it. Where's the other one where he makes some jokes? Underage. What do you think? He says something. Oh yeah, man, little did he know that he was this close to getting a Hurricane Rana from good old JR. And those two things you don't want if you're in our business, folks. That's a left hand from Harley Race or a Hurricane Rana from Jim Ross. Both are devastating. That's so silly. Alright, I think so. Yeah, I just wanted to share some of those passages with you. I thought that was humorous, talking about Hurricane Ranas and 450s. I hear it because people on the internet, I remember, were joking about, I think there's this whole review around Invasion when they had the wrestlers, the referees wrestle. I can't remember, it was like Nick Patrick versus like Earl Hebner. And like somebody wrote this whole troll review on like 411 Mania or some shit about them doing like fucking dragon splashes and or phoenix splashes and shit. And just like making it sound like just this fucking high flyer match, even though it's just ridiculous. Alright, so anyway, this is Under the Black Hat, the book report by Greg Huffman's book report, and this is Jim Ross's Under the Black Hat, signing off.